All right, just picked up this 2001 Honda Foreman 450S. The S stands for standard shift, i.e. not the ES, which is electronic shift. I prefer the standard shift over here. Still semi-automatic, but don't worry about the electronic shifter going bad. So anyway, guy said lost spark. He's riding around and lost spark. So hopefully that's all it is. We can trace that down. Picked it up for $950 around this area. I think it's worth fixed up. Solid 2K. Tires in the front got some dry rot on them. Tires in the back got some baldness to them. Plastics overall aren't in horrible shape. You know, scratches would not from a 2001 machine. But headlights still intact. No battery, so I couldn't even test out if the LCD screen works. Racks are still here, not in horrible shape. The right foot plate's got a little bend to it. Must hit something, but brakes sort of work. And see if we can get this thing turned over and running. Looks like we got some duct tape as the intake boot. Must be a little leak around there. Again, said it was a spark problem, so we're gonna figure that one out. I didn't check compression as far as a tester, but I did pull the handle, and it's got some decent compression, so I'm not too worried about that. Pull handle's got some bend to it. So much compression they bent it. But I don't think the guy seemed fairly honest, but you never know what the risk is of buying a non-running machine. So let's see what happens. Phil Petcock is missing the screw that attaches it in there, so just pulled that out of there so we don't lose it, and we'll have to find a screw that will fit inside there and have the right length to pull that in. Little gangster right there. Let's see what happens. Nothing turning on there. No lights. Okay, well, turns on now. LCD screen's not working too well, so I'm not sure if we're ever gonna know how many miles. Oh, that's too bad. Huh. All right, well, let's see if it'll kick over here. Should be in neutral. Yeah, neutral light's on. Okay, obviously it turns over, which is good. The starter works. I checked the oil before I did that. Looking good there. So what we'll have to do is pull the plug and start figuring out why it's not sparking. So I was hoping this LCD screen was going to be intact, because that kind of stinks. First thing I'll check while I'm here is just fuses are good. See if we've left anything good in here. Some wire, baler's twine, Harley Davidson bag, valve stem cover, and a little rubber strap. I guess it's to hold the toolkit, which is not in there obviously. So, say with anything, when you find it, you don't notice everything when you're first looking at it, so you get it home. This rubber strap right here is missing, that holds that thing closed. Not a big deal. The rear brake hangs up a little bit. So little things here and there add up. Let's look for sparks to make sure. The engine itself. No sparky. I think the guy was mechanically inclined enough to know that. So I'm just going to take a look at the boot. The wire at the end. See, it's not the most simple thing to fix. This boot looks sort of newer, not stock. Could be wrong about that. The wire looks okay, but we'll just cut back a tiny little bit of wire and try putting that piece back in there. I doubt that's a problem though. Always start the easy things, right? Nice and tight. And it wasn't going to be that easy, but hey, let's try. Okay. So before we go any deeper, we'll just again try a different spark plug. Obviously an NGKR DPR8EA9, maybe not right, but this right here. Spark India, that's got to be a solid plug. Okay. Nope. Hey. I guarantee I'll have to get behind this part of the plastic anyway, so can't hurt to take some of this plastic off. It's like that's the only push pull we have, push tab we have. The rest is all zip tied together. So wire cutters is our best bet against these little guys. I love their zip ties. Instead of getting a cheap kit off Amazon that has these little attachment points. Oh, and let's not forget duct tape up here. See that? Oops, there we go. Black duct tape so it blends in a little better. Now, this come out of that part there. I think it just sits down. There we go. Okay. Now we have access to some parts up here. Let's gonna sort out why this thing is not sparking. I'm gonna order a new voltage regulator rectifier. Read a bunch of forums. It's kind of potentially a common problem for these, and then we'll go from there. It's like 27 bucks on Amazon. I'll get it delivered and replace that, and we'll start throwing parts of this thing. Actually, after that, I'll start actually diagnosing using the manual to check all the resistances. A little bit of an update on this machine. So I went to check the voltage regulator rectifier up there, followed the instructions in the manual, and there should have been 13 or battery voltage to that red line. Didn't get any voltage there, so trace back the wiring diagram, and that red hot comes right off 30 amp main fuse, which that doesn't look quite right, does it? So pull the main fuse out, and in this cover it does come with a spare fuse, so I'm going to try replacing that main fuse. I don't know why that would have burnt out. But we'll try replacing that, plugging the regulator rectifier back in, and see if we get spark. Replace this fuse with the spare, and I'll hook up the battery and see if we get spark. Okay. Well, battery's hooked back up. Neutral light's on again. Let's see if we got sparky spark. Oh, can't see from that angle, can you? We got spark. Now the question is, why did that fuse blow? Don't know. Right now we're going to try and get some fuel to this thing. Maybe we'll get this thing fired up tonight. That would be a shock. Okay, I looked through all my screws. I found with the right threads, it's almost long enough. It's probably a 1/4 inch too short. So what I'm going to take a drill bit and just increase the depth of that counter bore a little bit. See if this works. Oh boy. Wants to just go in deep. All right, let's see how this thing goes in. Okay, up, down. All right, well, looking pretty, but it seems to be working. All right, a couple things fixed so far. Came back from getting fuel, see if this fuel comes out of here or not. Yep, comes out of there, so we'll attach that to the carb. Put this, okay. Now we'll turn this thing to, let's see, on is up, maybe. We'll keep an eye on carburetor and see if it starts to leak anywhere. This primer bulb seems a little stiff. So fuel's filled up the fuel filter. It's there. We have spark now, so we can go ahead and put the spark plug back in. Turn the choke on. Stand back a little bit. Let's see what we got. Turn on our battery jumper. It's a Honda, but if it fires up quickly, I will be pretty happy and surprised. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
I see you got it started.
Can't run too long. We're inside the garage, but
Yeah.
yeah. So again, that was just the main fuse, which is buried down right there. The rest of the fuses were good. Can't really ride it right now. I need to get a battery ordered in. So I don't want to run around with this thing like this. But there it is. End of first night. We got the quad sort of working. Petcock working. It's not dripping tons of fuel. There it is. I'll say success. The story on this quad was the guy owned it for a while. He moved to Alaska for a few years. Just moved back about 6 months, a year ago or so, and was riding this quad around, and the spark just died. So it sat for a few years, got ridden for a little while, and that's when it lost spark. So again, not quite sure where that main fuse blew, but it's fired up now. It's got good oil. Not dripping fuel right now. We'll turn the petcock off for the evening, and we'll come back tomorrow. Maybe I'll take it for a test ride, even with the battery booster pack strapped to the rack or something like that for you. So, all right, that's it for this night. What do you think, buddy?
Fun.
That's pretty cool. All right, so he did give me some new wheel bearings. So the front needed new wheel bearings. I got this side over here. Didn't feel that bad. A little bit of play. Not too bad. Went over here to the left front. Yeah, I would say there's a little bit of play in there. Hopefully it didn't wallow out the actual knuckle of the hub. This one, there's some play. I don't know how many miles in this thing, we'll never know because the screen doesn't work, but anyway. All right, well the quad did come with this set of wheel bearing and seal kit. So I'll be installing this Pivot Works part PWFWK H14-040, and it lists up there the TRX 450 SES 9804, which is this machine. I forgot the video if I showed you this earlier, but yeah, this is the front left tire. I think we need to replace the bearings there before we even test drive it. Obviously the fuse was blown, so I don't know why the fuse blew. I'm not sure if it still needs a regular rectifier or what, but I want to replace that bearing before I drive it and potentially cause any more damage to it. So we'll get that going right now. I'll remove this 17mm bolts. Yeah, it needs it. We got duct tape covering the holes instead of the actual plugs that come with these machines. So, I don't know what I was thinking there. 8mm. Let's see. Let's see if this drum will come off. Oh, does not come off first? Or no, it should come separate. I'm going to try taking this axle nut off first, and then maybe it'll come off all as one piece. This, I believe, is 22. Yep. Okay, so I'll pound out these studs. Well, got some material wear in here from the drum grooving into this part here. Rubber seal here is cracked around the outside. Yeah, this one a little longer than it should have as far as wear time. There we go. Okay, boy. Hovering in there, I don't want to lose that. Ay, ay, ay. This machine sat for too long. Since we got 4 12mm bolts in here. Well, that kind of felt cross-threaded as it came out. Huh. Okay, I brought some bungee cords over so if this comes off. I think it should. We'll take this, as I was pulling this 12mm bolt out of the brake hose bracket here so I can pull this drum up a little higher. Sorry, it's a nut, not a bolt. 12mm. Alright, it's up on the shock tower. So next we'll pull off the flickering play. There's not too much play in the tie rod end. Alright, well, on the tie rod and these other 3 nuts we gotta pull off with the ball joints. There are cotter pins. Ball joints look okay. That's good. And these are all 17mm, same as the lug nuts. Take off the tie rod end first. It's turning it up. So it's all 17mm. Wrench you'll need. Top of this one. Strong tool. Okay. Ball joint. This one did not have a cotter pin in it. It's missing. And it came right out like as if it was already removed at some point. Huh. Usually you put those back on some so you don't take them all the way off. The upper ball joint does have the cotter pin still in it. This is the toughest one of these to get to, so I can get you a better angle. I'm not sure it's going to help or not. Let me see if I can. It's above this CV boot here, so be careful if you're not replacing the axle, which I'm not planning on doing. So I'll tear into that. Okay, cotter pins out. Now, not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to take a 17mm. Get it underneath there. Hopefully I can give it some impact. Got this thing moving too much. I should have left that. Let's see about this guy. Okay. Not too tight. There's many ways to get this lower ball joint off. I'm gonna try this trick here. Saw it. I have a pickle fork. I just I don't want to ruin that boot because I plan on reusing these. Okay, that's free. This top one. Try this little trick a little out. Get some leverage there and just. There we go. Wasn't the prettiest. Alright, well, what do you think? Nice new bearing? There's an erase. Some balls. There's the carnage. Wow. Okay. We'll get this over on the bench and take off the little seals and see if pound out this bearing. Alright, so first I'll try and take out this grease seal. I have to hit that from the outside edge in. Alright. Well, there goes one of the races. Wow, this bearing. Seen some use. I have no idea how many miles are on this quad because the LCD screen is not working. Okay, there's a bit of rust in here. There's a C-clip in here. So I'm just trying to get some of this crusty rust out of here, and we'll see if we can get this C-clip free, and then I'll my pliers out. I don't know if they're gonna be strong enough to pull the C-clip out, honestly. This may be a bear. Alright, let's see if these are strong enough. Okay, boom, C-clip out. Don't try and pound out this bearing without taking that out first, obviously. So now we have to drive the bearing from the inside of the machine towards the outside. Obviously the C-clip is here to keep the bearing in there in case it does wobble loose. So you want to pound it towards the side you just pulled this out of. And look, hey, some more races and ball bearings. How about that? Oh, there we go, the cage. So now we have this. Fortunately, I think we're good here as far as this part getting damaged. Because the bearings took the brunt of it. I don't see any damage here in the surface or the inside surface, so maybe a little bit of polishing in here. I think it'll be okay. So let's get on this bearing, see if we can pound it out this way. That's what I'm trying to do is with this angled punch, get into the middle part of the bearing where the inner races, the balls are kind of right on. pound it out that way. It's the only thing I can get a grip on without damaging anything. See a gap forming in here, so anyway, I'll pound this thing out. Hopefully, if I find anything exciting, I'll turn the camera back on, otherwise I'll do it off screen. Okay. Bearing came out, a little bit of beating on it, and it worked pretty good. So this may actually work as my tool to install the other bearing, because it is smaller than this OD right here, so we'll work on that. The other bearing's in the freezer right now, trying to cool off a little bit. But hey, big step right there, turn the corner. Now we're going to start assembling things. Okay, we're back with the greased up bearing, so we'll work on installing this. Only hit the outside part of the bearing, do not hit the inner race. So I'm going to use the old bearing as the tool. Now push this in. A piece of board on top of this will keep it level. There we go. So this works. Okay. Oh yeah, it's working. The back side. Yeah, it's almost seated. I think she's in there. Okay, I'm going to check this. Make sure the C-clip groove is clear. So if you can install the C-clip, that means it's in far enough. Stick some more grease in here, then stick the grease seals in. But first the C-clips. Let's see if we can get that in there first. Okay, C-clip looks like it's in there. And just make sure this is seated down here in this bottom part. Alright, C-clip installed. Go put the oil seals in. I'll stick some grease on the outside as well. Make sure it slides in as easy as possible. So, this is the inner seal. It's got a little flange on it, and inside there's a spring. That spring will go towards the bearing. Just want to hit this flat and have it go in. Okay. I'm going to pack some grease in between the inside of the oil seal and the bearing. It's filled with an empty space when the outer seal is the one without the flange. There's no spring inside this. It's just rubber with some metal ring around it. So just, again, push it in carefully. This one went in pretty much by hand, but I'll just hit the block. Make sure it's fully seated. Okay, stick a little grease in this gap right here and we'll put it back on the bike. Now, there is a seal inside here. This little rubber seal right here, that also came in the package. So since I have it, I'll replace it. And this part obviously rides in the bearing and really gives it stability. So let me go off camera and get this seal out and replace it. This side, so stick a little grease on here and send her home in that orientation again. So this thin flange was facing out, so you can see over here, so I got to get the screwdriver from the outside, and that's where that smaller diameter is. So replace the same direction I pulled it out, which is opposite of what I thought. It's not supposed to install it, but I have to do this right here. Hammers about the size of that one. Okay. All right, new seal installed in there. So now I'll put this little guy on here. Hopefully that bearing feels a lot tighter. Yeah, once it gets torqued in, I think it'll be pretty good. You know what, I may clean up this surface right here a little bit. It's a little rough, and that's where the oil seal rides on here, so do that off camera. All right, time to put the hub back in. Cleaned up the surface here where it touches that, and then this gets torqued to 58 to 72 foot-pounds. I make mistakes all the time, but this one goofed here. So obviously this brake shoe housing has to go down first. That goes on before the hub. Duh! Alright, that looks a little more complete. Next we'll put the drum back on. Yeah, I don't think I'll do any adjustments to these brakes right now. I just want to see if everything works. So put these bleeder vent hoses back in little clamps. Look at that brake drum, has that spider shaped O-ring in there. Don't forget to put that 12 millimeter nut back on the brake hose bracket. All right, last step. Reinstall this old steel wheel. It's got some rust on it, and this very dry rotted front tire, but apparently it holds air. Not really any play on that wheel anymore. This side over here, the camera over here. Sorry, the fans, the heat's running right now. This one's got a little bit of play. Definitely needs it, but not bad enough where I can't take it for a test ride. So that's a little play in there. Okay, well, got a couple things to worry about. I'm gonna take it for a test ride with the jumper pack strapped to the back of the four-wheeler. I don't have the battery in yet. But my biggest concern is, why did that 30 amp main fuse blow? It may still be the voltage regulator rectifier, which is back down in here. I'm gonna turn it on, start it, and feel for a heat. So where that rectifier voltage regulator is, not sure you can see it here. It's this thing right here. So I'm gonna keep touching that. If it feels really hot, then I'll know that this is shorted, and I'll turn off the quad before it burns another fuse. That F fuse costs like $7 or $8, so it's kind of expensive. Yeah. So, but again, I checked this thing for resistance, and everything seemed okay. So I don't think it's shorted, but that's something I'll keep an eye on. I did notice when I first bought it was this mud flap was way too close to the tire. And so I looked down at that bent foot peg. So what we're gonna try and do right now is take a big old pry bar, so we can bend that thing back. Maybe satisfying to see if we can get this thing bent back. Some plastics will reform maybe. Let's see. The front part's going, but the back part doesn't want to follow behind. It's getting a little better. Don't want to break this off or anything, that's for sure. Getting closer. It's tough angle to. I was going to use a ratchet strap and come along against a tree or something like that. Well, pulled it forward a little bit. Not as much as I'd hoped. I'll have to park it in front of a tree, get it to come along, grab the back side of this and pull it forward, but it's definitely better than it was. A little straighter and a little more gap behind the tire. Let's get this thing running. I checked the voltage regulator with the key on. Doesn't feel hot at all. Feels room temperature at most. Now, my clips on here are not that robust. I'll get it outside and get it started. See where it goes from there. I don't think I recorded this thing even starting. I didn't push record. Anyway, fired right up like I did last night. Put the temperature lights on. I believe that's what that is right there. So, I know there's oil in it. Keep an eye on that. Voltage regulator feels cool to the touch. I don't think that's shorted. And that's just smoke from white smoke from being cold outside, so that's not blue smoke or anything. Pretty interesting sound. When I turned it off, something was winding down. Oh, I don't know. This may be an issue. Let's check the oil again. The oil light never went off. I thought that was just for oil temperature. I'm gonna research that though. If it's oil pressure, then I got problems. Okay, I'm gonna try and have you listen to something. Get started. Listen when it turns off. Wood is still spinning. You hear that? Wood is still spinning after the engine turns off. That is super weird. It's in neutral. I'll try pull starting it, and maybe the starter is stuck engaged, so maybe if I pull start it, won't get that same sound when I turn it off. Let's see if I have enough muscle. Listen again. What on earth is that sound? Okay, I think I just found out what that may be. Maybe the clutch spooling down, because when I put it in gear and turn it off when it's in gear, it will not make that sound. So we'll start up in neutral. And then put it in gear and turn it off, and that sound is gone. Okay? Put it in neutral. Start it in neutral. Turn it off in neutral, we'll hear it. There's the sound. That's going to do it for this particular part of this video. It's not charging right now, so if I disconnect the battery while running, it dies right away. So I think it's a voltage regulator rectifier, which I had ordered last night on Amazon, but since I tested it and found out that main fuse had blown, I kind of canceled the order. It would have been here today. I canceled it, so now I just placed another order for the same thing, so that should come in tomorrow. So the battery will come in today, the voltage regulator will come in tomorrow. I'm going to do the other wheel bearing while I have the tools out and everything, remember how to do that. And that'll be off camera, you don't need to watch that. Brakes don't work, so I may try bleeding these first and adjusting them. Rear brake kind of sticks on when it does work, so it needs some love. I had a little more than I was hoping to get into with this particular machine. But if I have $950 into it, maybe a day of labor, for what I charge for my time, maybe I get $2,200 for it at the end of the day. Maybe I'll make $600-700, something like that. So not a huge money maker, but anyway, it might be a part 2 where I'll install a voltage regulator, rectifier, check the charging, put the battery in, all that stuff. So if you see that, great. If not, this is the only video for this particular machine, and hopefully I made some cash on it. Peace.